Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to the videos of the paid requests. This time for Travis. Thank you for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Sorry about that. I should have done that before I started the video, but it is what it is. So, this is a two-part episode of The Incredible Hulk, the 70s TV show. This one called Mystery Man. Where, long story short, Bill Bixby as Dr. David Banner, he's hitchhiking, and sadly for him, is picked up by this cowgirl who's going, I forget where she's going to, but she's like, men, they're all snakes. And she's in hysterics because her man ran off with someone. I need to go get him. And he keeps telling her, hey, could you slow it down? Could you be careful? But she's all in hysterics. Like, she's ready to jump on his face and sun his face. Not that that's a bad thing. But at the same time, it's very, in hysterics. Lo and behold, she's not paying attention, gets in a car crash, and one thing leads to another. He halts out for a bit to get out of the car, but then changes back. People find him, and he is in the hospital. He has amnesia. I thought it was weird that he had bandages on his face, because I thought anytime he turned to the Hulk, when he turned back, he'd have no injuries. But I guess he does, because the doctor says he was burned up on his face. Which is funny, like, when he turns to the Hulk, Lou Ferrigno's running out. There's a bit where, when he's running out, and you see Lou Ferrigno's head, like, a bit of his hair stuff, is on fire. Now, I thought that was an accident. I don't know if that's meant to be on purpose. But I don't think so, because you see just in the wide shot he's running, his head's on fire. But up close, there's nothing wrong. So, yeah, I guess the explosion screwed up and, like, hit Lou Ferrigno in the head. And then you see him running, away, and there's, like, fire on his head. I'm like, oh, shit. I think that was a bit of a mistake. I don't think that's what it was meant to... I don't think that was meant to happen. But anyway, he kind of just lies down and then turns back, and then they find him. So, again, I'm still not sure how his face got burned, because the Hulk's face isn't burned. And when he lies down, his face isn't burned. But then, I don't know. It's just a way for his face to be bandaged. And Mr. BD, the reporter, comes by to ask questions. Now, if he saw what he looked like, it's Dr. David Banner. But we gotta find a way to have him, Mr. BD, not find who he is. But at the same time, Banner has amnesia. And then the rest of the episode is, okay, you have amnesia. I want to ask you questions about the Hulk. Let's go to this institute on this plane. The plane crashes, the pilot dies, the two are stuck in the woods, and they have to escape out of the woods. At one point, there's a big forest fire. At one point, they deal with wolves, and they gotta get the hell out of Dodge. With that said, I was not a fan of these episodes. Now, there are other episodes I like. For example, this one called Married. That's a very good episode. I'm not saying this episode or two-parter is without merit. You do get to see a bit more of McGee. There's definitely a bit more of screen time for that reporter character. Because a lot of times he pops up like for a little bit here and there, but here, not only do you get to see him talk with David Banner quite a bit, I guess for them this is like the only way they could do it, is him with his face bandaged up. But you also get to know more about Medee's motivation, why he goes after the Hulk. At one point, David Banner asks him, and Mr. Medee goes, "Just the Hulk means to steep, and they'll be able to write real stories and be somebody." Well, wait a minute. You said the Hulk saved your life. What about him? Yeah, I know, but it's a dog eat dog world, and sometimes you gotta choose me or him, and I'm choosing me. So, like I said, you do get to know a little bit more about Mr. Medee's his motivation for this. Also, he does find out that he thinks the Hulk is just a separate entity, but now by the end of this two-parter, he knows that this person can transform into the Hulk, and they're the same person. So now he's got that piece of information. The thing I wasn't a big fan of, though, is like of the two parts, like the first part, Hulk out, he only does it once. I know usually he only does it like 2 or 3 times per episode, but here is just once. And the first of this two-parter. Also, I don't think this needed to be a two-parter. Like part one, part two, I do not think there was enough there for it. And really, this is a clip show. That's what it is. And clip shows were a thing where before syndication was very heavy, and way before DVDs and even VHS tapes, let alone YouTube and all that. Oh, we're in this part of the show. We want to have people catch up on what you may have missed in previous season, previous episodes. We just show sort of the highlights, important moments, in case you didn't see it before, or in case you want to remember them. But also, it helps with writers, with people who make the shows, where a lot of times they have a certain amount of episodes to do per season, and sometimes it's a bit rough to keep up with that. But if they do a clip show, then they could film less material. So in this case, a lot of times, especially in the second part, it's the two of them in the woods, and then David Banner remembers something, or he has flashes to something, and a lot of them is just kind of lying around, sitting around, talking. And that's the thing, is for a two-part, it comes off as very slow-paced and a bit plotting. I did not without good stuff, but it's not exciting with, okay, on the plane, there's the crash. He visualizes a moment in the past where the Hulk was hanging from a plane. When they're talking, there's flashbacks of, oh, Mr. BD goes, I remember I was at a boxing ring once, and there's footage of boxing, and I remember one point I saw him running down the street, and you see footage of the Hulk running down this New York street. Or Banner's having nightmares, and it's to the episode Married, where he tried to separate the Hulk, and they're in the desert, where he's trying to trap the Hulk in the safe, because it was him trying to trap him in his psyche in the episode Married. And then they find out there's a fire going about, and that's kind of how the first part ends. And then the second part is they deal a bit with wolves, where they light bits on fire. I like the overhead shot where you see like our characters in the middle and a big circle of fire. It's a decent looking shot as they try to keep the wolves at bay. And there's a few more Hulk out moments in the second part where at one point they slide down this cliff and Mr. Medee is hanging and passes out, and the Hulk hulks up and grabs him and takes him to safety. But then there's flashbacks about the close calls he had with Mr. Medee, and he knows he's not supposed to trust this guy, but he doesn't remember what. There's flashes of Las Vegas where Mr. Medee tells about at one point someone was trapped in a pit. There's a point where David Banner looks in a reflection, and he's remembering episode Buried, where He was married to his girl. He was in love with her. It just, when you watch this stuff nowadays, clip shows are not really that enticing to rewatch. Because with the way of the world today, I mean, I get it. The way it was back then, it was a different animal. It was a different animal. It was a different ball game. They didn't have the advent of YouTube. You could just find the episode or find the clip and watch it then and there. Or you could just pop in your DVD and rewatch that episode. Or so I get that back in the day. I can understand that. Bill Bixby does a great job as always. He's wonderful as David Banner. He definitely brings a sense of soul searching compared to all the other incarnations of Banner and the Hulk. I thought when he remembers, the tears are going down his face is a nice emotional moment. Like I said, if you're more interested in the reporter McGee, you definitely get more screen time with him in this. But for me, it's just not that exciting. I don't think it need to be two parts. I think you could have made this into one part. I think it's strung along a bit too long. There are parts where, like in the second part, it'll keep going back to these other workers talking about this fire, and it's really pointless because it's not like the Hulk or Banner ever beats these other workers. It's just, to me, that to fill the time. Well, I don't know. Maybe there's people in there. I don't know. Maybe there aren't people in there. Maybe there are people in there. Well, what are we going to do? Well, there's nothing we can do. It's like, you could cut all that stuff out and none of it would change the episode other than it'll go by faster. Because the way it ends, spoilers, is Mr. McGee doing something stupid yet again, gets himself trapped in fire, Banner changes, McGee sees this, doesn't see his face, but sees him changing, helps him out. They find this family in this truck. They're scared at first, but the little girl's like, wait a minute, he wants to help that guy. We'll take care of him. I thought it was sweet. The Hulk with the little girl. He runs off. McGee yells for him. John, as in John Doe, because he didn't know his real name. Get the idea that McGee didn't really learn anything from this. He's still gonna chase him. The only thing he learned, he learned that he can change, transform, but it's not like he had any life lessons that he learned. So it comes off as a bit pointless. As in, we're right back where we started, other than McGee has one more piece of information on the Hulk. And we took two parts, which is like 90 minutes. You added all in 90 to 100 minutes to get to that point. Okay, we need Mr. McGee. We do learn a bit more of his motivation. He gets to know how the Hulk can turn. He does transform. I don't think you needed 90 minutes to get those two pieces of information out. You don't really learn more about Banner with his nightmares, his reflections, his memories. I don't think there's a lot of deep conversation other than when Mr. McGee answers why he wants the Hulk so bad. The lady at the first part of the episode should have had a big old heaping apology because he almost got this guy killed. I was waiting for her to come by and say, I'm sorry, darling. You can't remember? Oh, no. No, that never happens. So, like I say, it's a glorified clip show. And I definitely would say if you're interested in watching the show, maybe, hey, you just see clips of stuff you haven't seen before, and then maybe that would entice you to find where these clips came from. maybe that could be a benefit. But I think most people, I mean, they would just start from the beginning anyway and work their way up with how they're able to now. And again, I don't understand how his face was burned with the way the events transpired, because when he woke from in the car, his face wasn't burned. Then the Hulk ran out. It was like a faraway shot where his face was burned, but you think you would have like more up close shots of that if they want to be very important. But then again, the Hulk kind of lies down and sleeps, and his face is fine. I don't know. That whole thing was a bit weird. As I like firewood mess with the Hulk anyway, because it's the Hulk. Bullets don't work on it, but firewood, I don't know. I didn't understand any of that. It's like we have to have a reason for his face to be bandaged. It may not make sense, but go for it. And it just was. It got a bit boring. Got a bit boring. So I do remember seeing the boxing episode and enjoying that more. Married, that episode is very good. I would say definitely the best I've seen so far of the Hulk is that Married episode. I forget if it was one or two parts. I forget, but that's a very good one. Like I said, not my favorite. Has its merits though, so it wasn't a waste of time, but not my favorite. But okay. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.